guys, welcome back to another edition of Pooch Patrol TV. Now, it is a beautiful, marvellous day today. As you can see, snow is everywhere. I'm out with my mate Drax, there you go. So hi buddy, you're famous, sort of. Anyway, so we all know the dangers of walking our dogs in hot weather. And if we don't, you should. And if you want to know more, I have done multiple videos and posts on it and giving you tips and tricks and stuff like that. But what you may not know are the dangers of walking in the snow, in the cold, icy weather. And not just for your dogs, but for you as well. You also need to be aware of your breed. So my mate Drax here, he's a husky, and huskies are born for this weather. So I don't really have to worry about him too much. But I do walk dogs with short hair, so dogs like greyhounds, whippets, even sausage dogs. Any dog really that isn't built like a husky or doesn't have really fluffy, nice long hair. And you have to be aware that these dogs will suffer in the cold. Not only that, there are dangers that you need to be aware for yourself and for the dog. So we are going to go through this. So grab a coffee and warm up, because I know I will be later. Sit down, buckle up, and I hope you enjoy. So the first thing I think we need to discuss is you really need to know your breeds. As you can see, my mate here who we walked earlier, he is a husky. He is built for the snow. Doesn't mean he's not going to get cold, and doesn't mean he might not suffer some of the dangers we are going to talk about. But in general, I wouldn't really worry about walking him in the snow. He has a fur coat, he is naturally built for these sort of conditions, but not every dog is. You have to know your breed and know your dog. So for example, puppies, senior dogs, these dogs are going to struggle in the snow, in the cold, whatever breed they are. But I'm more concerned with dogs such as chihuahuas, greyhounds are a great example, and whippets. These are dogs, no matter the size, have really small fur, and they will really suffer in this sort of environment. So, like for example today, it was a beautiful day, it wasn't stormy, that had passed, but it was just snowy. So I would be quite happy to take those sort of dogs out for a walk. I might consider them making half an hour rather than an hour, and I would definitely put on a really thermal coat to keep them warm. Now, with these dogs, make sure it is a proper thermal winter coat, because you can get coats that are for when it's raining, for example, so they're raincoats, and they're a lot thinner and they're more waterproof. But for winter coats, they tend to have a really kind of lovely kind of thermal layer that keeps dogs lovely and warm. So before you go out, just think about your dog, know your breed, know your dog, and they will hopefully be as safe as possible. Okay, so let's look into some of the hazards and dangers that involve walking in these winter conditions. And of course, the biggest danger to our dogs are going to be the paws. It's the paws that come into contact with the snow in these cold conditions. And there can be several different hazards that we need to look into. And we also investigate how we can protect and deal with these. So the first one is cracking and dryness. So cold temperatures and dry airs may actually dry out your dog's paws. Also, chemicals and de-icers, like salted paths as well, could cause irritation and chemical burns. So ideally, we need to avoid slushy areas as much as possible. These can be quite painful to our dogs, so it's something to be aware of. So frostbite. If paws get too cold, they can develop frostbite, just like us. So if you have a pooch with sensitive feet, or maybe a dog that's older, or a puppy, maybe look into buying some dog-specific winter boots to protect them. Hypothermia. So dogs can get this if not covered up, as already discussed. So know your dog, know your breed, and with potential boots and potential coats you can avoid hypothermia. Slips and falls. Dogs can slip on ice just like us, especially black eyes, that eyes that we can't see. So if you have an older dog, especially one that has arthritis, this is especially the case for having issues keeping their balance. So it's something we just need to be a bit aware of. Paw injuries. Walking on the path that has been salted with rocks and sharp objects are also hidden under the snow, and when walked on this can be painful and can cause injury. So we just need to be aware of our surroundings. And poisonings. Antifreeze and de-icers on the path, as well as near cars, and of course salt that's thrown on roads. These can be poisonous if walked on, and especially if the dog licks afterwards. So we'll discuss how we can avoid this later, but we just need to be aware of where our dog is walking and what we're walking in. Right, so now we've looked at the hazards of walking in winter conditions. Now we're going to look at how to protect them and what to avoid as well. The first one we're going to look at is moisturising. So a good moisturising balm acts as a barrier to protect from harmful chemicals and protect from frostbite. So this can be applied during the walk or mainly before the walk, and used after the walk as well. But of course, make sure your paws or the dog's paws are washed after you've come back from your walk and before you put this balm on. Always make sure it's a dog specific balm. Ask for your vet, so go to a pet store and ask for their advice to see what is best in this case. Hydration is really important regardless of the weather, but as always, especially on longer walks, take water with you to stay hydrated. This doesn't just keep the body hydrated, but it keeps the paws hydrated as well, and that's really important. And of course, no, eating and licking lots of snow isn't really sufficient, and if it's yellow, I wouldn't advise it, you know what I mean? Washing paws is really important after the walk as well. So dip the paws into a shallow bowl of warm water. Make sure it's not hot, it has to be nice and just lukewarm. Then towel dry afterwards, and this will remove all potential toxic buildup and dirt and anything nasty that may linger that the dog may then lick and nibble and be poisoned with afterwards. There are gadgets out there that people may use, especially when you have walked in muddy conditions. My advice on this is check with the retailer, the supplier, your vets, the pet store you bought it from. Make sure it is adequate for winter protection, not just muddy conditions but snowy conditions as well. So we have to avoid de-icing agents. These are such as areas that have been salted, like paths, roads especially where there is de-icer from cars, de-icer from the engines and stuff like that. Staying away from very slushy areas on the walk, because this may suggest that this area has been salted. These can be potentially harmful, so it's very important we are aware of this. Just like in hot weather, shorter walks are brilliant. This is especially if it is a particularly bad storm. Maybe a short walk or a play in the garden, or even miss a walk will help you out. Remember, missing a walk has never killed a dog. This is especially the case for puppies, old dogs, and for dogs with short fur breeds such as Whippets, Greyhounds, Chihuahuas, those sort of dogs as we've already discussed. So really, this is for your judgment, seeing what it's like outside, what the conditions are. And finally, we do need to monitor our dog's paws, regularly checking pads and between the toes for redness, plaques, wounds and discoloration and other signs and concerns that maybe they've stood on something nasty or have an irritation to something they may have walked in. Excuse me. Especially if they are licking and nibbling these areas more than usual. And I emphasise more than normal. So you know your dog, and you will know your dog if they are doing this more than they normally do. Hey guys, so not only do you need to look after your dogs, but you have to look after yourself, which in turn looks after your dogs. Now, wearing really good boots is essential. I love to wear ankle supported boots that I tape up, so if I do slip or roll my foot, I am not going to get an injury. I'm not going to fracture or break my ankle or any part of my feet. Having grips is really essential, because even in this weather, I've nearly gone over a few times, and that is with these boots. Of course, wrapping up warm is always decent, whether you've got headgear, body gear as well. You know yourself, and I'm sure you know what to do in this situation. Gloves are ideal. I wouldn't recommend big fluffy gloves. You need gloves that you can feel the lead, that you are confident that you can have a good grip on the lead, that it's not going to slip out of your hand. And also think about grabbing those treats and grabbing those poo bags. Are you constantly going to be taking your gloves on and off? Could you let go of the lead while you're doing this? These are the dangers that you need to be aware of, so you can get really good fingered gloves that are gripped, and they feel like you're not wearing them basically, but you've got nice lovely warm hands. We have to be careful as well, the dangers of ice. Now in this picture, where the road is, where the sun is actually shining just by Drax's head, I nearly went on my arse here. It didn't look that like it was icy, but it was that horrible invisible black ice. So when you're crossing roads, just be careful. It may look like it's nice and safe, but it's not. And that's for the paths as well. If you think that patch of floor that hasn't got any ice or snow or slush on is going to be safe, it may not be. So just be careful. Walk on the grass if you can. That helps a great deal. Okay guys, that covers that for now. We do have other forms of social media on Pooch Patrol. You can find our Facebook page, which is Pooch Patrol, a lead to peace. This is what I use most of the time, and you will see everything we do, our daily routines, walks, hints, tips, and everything you really need to know. We also have an Instagram account where you can see even more adventures. All unfiltered, of course, because that's how we roll. I do have a blog called Ramblings of a Dog Walker. This is just stories, things that go on in my mind as I'm out walking alone, as well as hints, tips, training advice, and everything in between. And that can be found at poochpatrolrugby.wordpress.com. And we also have a website page. That is poochpatrolrugby.co.uk. So I hope you've enjoyed this and found this of interest. Please subscribe if you can. That would really be appreciated. And leave a like as well. That would be amazing. And I will see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.